Hey everyone, Sandy Kreisberg here. It's Friday. We're handicapping a very exciting customer today. His name is Mr. Customer. How do you pronounce that? Give me your whole name here.
That's Jacob John Kutishero.
Okay, and what's your background country-wise? What passport do you have?
I come from India.
Okay, and where have you been working recently?
I've been in Singapore for the past 8 years.
Okay, so we have a guy, and where'd you go to college?
I did my college in Singapore as well.
Okay, so we have a Singapore University graduate. We've got, the stats are he's got a 3.4 equivalent and a 750 GMAT. So, and tell us briefly who you work for.
I work for this company called Amobi, which is under the largest telco in Singapore. And they focus on digital marketing technology.
So let's ask the question. We got a guy from Singapore. I did a little research. There, at Harvard Business School, there are typically 4 to 5 Singapore passport holders a year, but you're an Indian passport holder, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So when you apply to Harvard and Stanford, you can't lie about where your passport's from, but man, I would really try and make myself into a, what do you call people that come from Singapore? Singaporeans?
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
Singaporean. I would try and smell and look like a Singaporean, okay? We got a 3.4, 750, and he's working for the biggest telecom in Singapore, which goes by various names, but Singtel and its recent acquisition. So that's your story, and you're 26 years old. That's perfect. 3.4. Do you have any idea what the class standing of that is at university? That's important.
The only other stat that the university gives out is sort of like the honors ranking. So I'm sort of
Sure.
I fall into the second.
We'll take
second
anything
upper.
we can get.
The second upper,
yeah, everybody's got that. Yeah, so that's like kind of like top. What does it take to be an upper? I take it back. Second upper is not first second.
No, so basically it's first class, second upper, second lower.
Okay, so do you have any? So that's a big group then, right?
It's not the peak of the bell curve if you're thinking about it. So
I'm trying to get some sense of your class standing. It's real important to them, even though they deny it.
I would still say that with like the equivalent of a 3.4, it's still on the above average, closer to the top 20 to 30% of the class. Okay,
if that's true, all right, that's kind of on the low side for Indian males applying to Harvard. The typical Indian male goes to IIT and usually does pretty well there. The ones who get in, it's a little steep. So that's just in figuring out your odds here. No judgment here, just predictions. Okay.
Absolutely.
Just in terms of figuring out your odds. You got a lot going for you. You're working in Singapore, that's a plus. You're working for a big, well-known company, that's a plus. You got a 750, that's a big plus. It's a big plus at Stanford too. The 3.4 is a little below average. So what else do you want us to know about you? What do you offer HBS and Stanford, do you think?
So coming from a background of myself beyond just my work work experience that you've seen through the resume, also have a fair amount of leadership experience outside of work. So through my undergraduate studies in Singapore and through my other activities outside.
Yeah, what is it? I'm gonna, for purposes of education, once again, no judgment. Tell me what you did. I'll tell you how valuable that is.
Sure, absolutely. So the most recent one is currently I work with the church here, and I lead the youth movement there. So in terms of all the charity activities that we do, we also have this incredible program that we've launched this year, which is trying to reach out to the sort of below or lower income people and providing them food on a daily
Okay, that's a
basis.
good gig. That's a good charitable gig. You're helping others. If John were here, I'd say, John, what does HBS and Stanford look for in an extracurricular? They look for impact beyond yourself. So if your extracurricular is, oh, I'm the head party giver at my firm, okay, that's not a good impact. They're looking like a really good impact is working for an organization that helps people overcome adversity that's got nothing to do with you. So what you've got is you're sort of in the middle there. You've got the right goals in that this does help underprivileged people facing adversity. It's related to your church. That's okay. So that's a good extracurricular. So let's wrap this up. Okay, what other is there anything else that you want to mention?
One other interesting foray I've had was in terms of a social enterprise in educational technology. So this started off when I was in school as well. We sort of wanted to help. So junior college is sort of before they get into university here in Singapore. So help out junior college students who can't afford tuitions. So being able to compile educational videos for them, but at the same time sort of innovating that whole space, because if you take education, it's still pretty archaic in the form of education.
Okay, so that's kind of like it was a startup with quote unquote charitable purpose. Okay, we're giving that half a gold star, and we're giving what you're working in 3/4 of what you're doing now is a gold star. So you got 1.5 gold stars on the extras. So drum roll, please. Okay, brace yourself. 3.4 GPA, 750 GMAT, gold star and a half extracurriculars, Singapore. Sell yourself from Singapore. I view that's a plus. I don't think you're getting into Stanford, but you're close. The Stanford will go for the 750. They may like people from Singapore. They may have someone else, some Indian male from, how many Indian males are there in Singapore? A lot, right?
A fair bit, but yeah, like in different
Yeah, well, one of those guys may get your spot, okay, or or somebody close to it. So I think your odds, once again, just predicting here, no judgment. I think your odds at Stanford, unless you can really powerfully execute, and well, who are going to be your recommenders?
So I'm still figuring that out in terms of who's going to be relevant, but I do work fairly closely with the managing director, who's like who's the lead of Asia region for Amobi, and I also fairly interact with the chief strategy officer, so he could be somebody I could reach out to as well, but probably with more of a.
You need bigwigs who can say. The two, just repeating myself here, the two qualities for a recommender are that they're bigwigs and that they're amenable to learning how to write a recommendation, which is, this guy is the greatest guy I've seen, and here are the convincing reasons for it. That's kind of a mediocre recommendation. They have to understand that vocabulary, okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Stanford is going to be hard. I don't think you're going to make it. It's just there's a lot of good stuff here, but there's nothing explosive. What are your goals?
In terms of my goals for post MBA, is that?
Yeah.
The way I would describe it is like I've always been interested in tech, so I want to be close to tech, but at the same time be on the business end of it. So it's sort of in the space of being
whose job do you want in 10 years? You got to every people claim they listen to these tapes religiously, and I ask this question in every tape, and nobody ever has an answer. Whose job do you want in 10 years?
So one of the interesting roles that I've seen recently, came across it in the MOBI actually, is he's part of a venture capital firm, but he oversees all of the portfolio companies in terms of operation, product, strategy.
Yeah, okay. I want to run a technical portfolio in a VC firm, like A, B, or C. A guy I really admire is John Doe, who works for the ABC VC firm, and he runs their technical portfolio, and he's made key investments in companies 1, 2, and 3. How hard is that? Anyway, get that in your ammo belt before you get interviewed.
Yeah.
Okay. Stanford, I think you're close. I don't think you're going to get in. HBS. What's that?
Is there something that could, just in general, is there something that I could do to help increase the odds in that front?
When do you want to apply?
Considering this for the intake of 2020.
Yeah. It would be real hard to change anything significant in that amount of space if you got really involved in a powerful and impactful extracurricular thing. That's the one thing that could do it. You can't, usually the answer to that is retake the GMAT, but you got a 750. So you're pretty, dyed in the wool here. Okay.
All right.
Develop your recommendations, continue to do good work. But that's the best advice. At HBS, I think your odds are like 40%. You're really on the border. There's a lot of Indian guys, a lot of Indian male guys. They'll like the 750. They'll like the fact you're working at Singapore, yada, yada, yada. The 3-4 is going to be a shadow over there. At Wharton, I think your chances become better. You're a typical Wharton guy. That Wharton will blink at the 3-4 because of the 750, and everything else is real solid. Okay, so that's my story, and I'm sticking with it.
All right. Yep, that's helpful. How about considering? So this is a question I've had on my mind.
INSEAD you should get into, and Columbia, Booth, and Kellogg. Boy, that's also where you belong. You're really a Kellogg kind of guy.
All right. With the marketing.
And it's a great school.
Got it.
As usual with Columbia, you've got to, if it's possible, visit or do as much research as possible about them. They like to know that you're their first choice and why. Okay, that's an important tip.
Yep, that makes sense.
Okay, so we're going to sign off here.
Great, thank you so much.
Okay.
It's been a pleasure.
Good talking to you. Signing off, see you next Friday. Happy trails.